Hey everyone, I have a 1964 Vespa 90 here that belongs to my brother-in-law that was his father's that he's owned since the 70s, and it really hasn't been driven or really running since then. So we're going to go through this, get it cleaned up, get it looking as good as it can, get it running, and I'm going to walk you through the journey. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at this gas tank because it's not getting fuel even though it does kick over. So we're going to start with that, and then we'll walk through some of the other fixes I do. Look how nasty it is in there. That's after 48 hours of soaking in a rust remover. Look at the rust that came out of the inside of this. And then look at the sludge that's still left in there. Look how nasty that is. So, next step, degreaser. Here's one. You ready for this? I just got the petcock out. Look at that. Is there any wonder why fuel wasn't getting out of here? Damn, that thing is nasty. Anyway, a new one of these should be here Tuesday. A little late to document some of what's been done already, but I'm going to do my best to show where I'm at right now. Starting from when I first got it, I just gave it a bit of a wash up, trying to get some of the initial dirt, cobwebs, and things off. It was really kind of, especially down here where there's a lot of activity from the motor, was really grimy. You can see there's supposed to be rubber strips in here. Those are kind of all toast. This thing's pretty well kicked. But most of the body and stuff is in great shape. So there's darn near zero rust, as you can see, for a machine of this age. It's got a little scrape right here, but even underneath, I think you'll appreciate just how clean that is. So overall, it's pretty good. Believe it or not, the tubes still hold air, which is amazing. So that was one of the first things I did just to make sure it could roll easily, is topped these off. The owner's manual says the front should have 17 PSI. The rear should have 23 PSI if you're gonna drive solo, and 33 PSI if you're gonna ride two up. So I topped it off. I kind of just, on the back, I just kind of split the difference between the two, and on the front, I set the proper pressure. We'll get to this contraption in a minute. Let me start at the front. On the front had this license plate bracket, as you can see, very rusty, which was held on by 4 screws that are like this. Also very rusty. And the horn, so it had this little gasket and then the nice chrome horn. So the chrome horn has some rust where the screws are. So, and this thing was just really killing the front of the Vespa with this big chunk of rust. I can let this, you can see the back of it is, it's actually remarkably shiny, where it was mated to the gasket in the body, but I mean the front is just horrendous. So I can let this soak in some evapor rust, but while I do, I think I might opt to kind of clean up the front of this and just take that off and have just the nice chrome horn there. I don't think we're gonna have a need for a front license plate bracket. It was clearly unused, so I'll just keep it aside, reassemble this, and have this nice kind of cleaned up front. I'll show you real quick. because the horn did have some rust around where the screws were, you can see, I've just got a little bit of evapor rust in a cup here, and just kind of dabbing it a little bit on these screws. It shouldn't harm this chrome, but you know, mileage may vary. This is such surface rust. I mean, I don't want to soak the whole horn, obviously, and I don't really have, I don't want to use anything too abrasive, so I'm just trying to take this rust back a little bit by every so often, in between kind of doing whatever I'm doing out there. I'll just come out here and, you know, refresh this evapor rust that's just kind of sitting on top of the horn here. And then that should at least reduce that rust a little bit. As you can see here, the seat is like almost completely destroyed. With age, it's all pulled apart, unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to get a new, man, this has been in such a state that I can't even bend it back into shape, and you can see it's cracked and wrecked anyway. So yeah, this seat is past it. I'm going to have to, I have an option. A couple of sites I've seen this seat, I can replace it for $168, which is kind of pricey, and the frame overall is in good shape and it's intact, minus this little piece here. But I did hit this with some WD-40, and it moves and pops back into place correctly. So where the metal aspect of this is fine, I think I'm going to, and I do have all the pieces, including this top pad here, not pad really, but whatever this support piece here is, I guess it's rubber. I'm going to just replace this with a cover, with a new cover that I can get for $57. So we'll see, that'll be a project in and of itself. But anyway, the seat has had it, so that's off to the side. Next, what else did I do? Here's our air filter box. It sits on the front like this, wide side down, small side up. And inside here, to get to this, you have to unbend at least one of these tabs. You might be able to get away with undoing just one, and it's like a cotter pin. As you can see, it just pulls out. And then there's a little wad of like steel mesh in here. You pull that out, clean it in some fuel oil mix, the same that you'd put in the gas tank is what I used. It seemed to be fine. And then it's very tricky to get this cotter pin back in and bent. I mean, it's not that tricky, it's kind of hassle, so I'm not gonna do it right now, but that's how you do that. And then this just goes back onto the carb. Here, you have the choke, which you would normally pull out. This is not connected to anything, as you can see right now, but normally this would be running, closed, reserve, but right now it's not doing anything because it's not connected. What else? This is something I don't have a lot of documentation on, so I figured I'd let you know. This is the switch for the headlights. This is headlights off. You know, regular lights, as far as kind of running lights, and then headlight on. This is high beam, low beam. This is the horn, which obviously is disconnected, and this is the switch on the side here to cut the engine. It's the engine kill switch. All right, change gears over here. They're tough to see. Right now it's in neutral. As you see, these two dots are lined up. First gear, neutral, second gear, third gear. And then this whole piece turns. This is the clutch, obviously. Okay, what else have I done to this so far? Air in the tires, and it rolls. I cleaned it, that's good. I did this front horn piece, that's fine. Doesn't run yet fully, so I'm working on it. Where we're at now, I don't know where this door is, and I'm not having an easy time finding one. You can see the serial number right here, V9A1T, which says it's a Vespa 90. And if you look at this serial number, it'll tell you it falls into a late model 1964. So, interesting. condition of this. Some of it's quite rusty, like you can see, but the body is in awesome shape. If I showed you under, how easy it's gonna be for me to get under here. But I mean, like even under here, it's really clean on the body. Bodywork's really clean. Paintwork, you can see that nice red that's been protected by the license plate, and then the rest of this is, it's really faded, but I have a feeling that this could come back with a buff. Before I get too long-winded here, let's walk you through another quick thing that I'm working on. Obviously, I'm draining the gearbox. Gearbox is here, and what you've got under at the very bottom, you'll feel this drain plug. It's right where my finger is. This little drain plug comes on out and it'll drain. This is obviously seen better days. And then the fill hole is back here. So now that it's had some time to drain, I'll kind of rock it around a little bit. Make sure I clean these holes up. But anyway, what I'll do is I'll add oil here. Once I put the plug back in, obviously, I'll add oil here until it's full here when you're on a nice level surface. And that'll be at least it for the gearbox. Spark plug is pretty straightforward. It's here. It's at an angle where you don't have a whole heck of a lot of room. Don't try to use a ratchet because I don't know how successful you're going to be. But I was able to put a socket on here and then use a spanner to just manipulate the socket itself, and I was able to change the spark plug pretty easily. Okay, that's where we're at. Obviously, I'm going to try to change these things. They're not supposed to come backwards like this. These should be sort of fully plastic at the end. So we'll talk about this later. This is my homemade gas tank, but we'll get to that in a bit.